cover some of the key contexts for the poem Beowulf, so let's take a look at them. First, there's a distance in geography. The poet is writing obviously in England, that's why you're reading this in a British literature class, but the characters he's writing about, Beowulf, Hrothgar, and the like, are not in England, they are in Scandinavia. The word Danes, which describes Hrothgar's tribe, gives you a hint about where they are. They are in Denmark, and Beowulf and his Geat brethren are in current-day Sweden. So there is a gap in geography. We have a poet writing in England about people who lived in Scandinavia. Next, there's a gap in time. The poet is writing circa 1000 AD about characters who lived circa 600 AD. Now, the way we are able to date the characters in the poem is because Hygelac, Beowulf's lord, seems to be an actual historical figure. So there is a historical record of Hygelac losing a battle in this time period, but we know that there's a significant time gap between the poet and the characters that he's writing about. So that's the second gap. And the third context here is worldview. The poet is a Christian who's writing about pagans. Now, pagans are people who believe in God. Beowulf, Hrothgar, they all talk about this creator God who they attribute power to, can help them or hurt them or decide things in the battles they're about to fight. But we get no sense that they know the true Christian God. They do not realize that Grendel, for instance, is the offspring of Cain. That's something the poet tells us. They do not have a proper view of death or the afterlife. Beowulf, when he talks with Hrothgar, says that the only hope people have of living on after death is the glory they win here on earth and their fame sort of outlasting their physical bodies. So the worldview is different as well. Now let's be a little bit more explicit here. If the worldview of the poem is different from that of the poet, how explicitly is it different? Well, the most important relationship in this culture is one between a king and a warrior, not between family members, not between a husband and wife, not between parents and children, but between warriors and their king. That's the most important relationship, and that's the relationship we see emphasized, especially at the beginning and end of the poem. Hrothgar's kingdom is in shambles at the beginning of Beowulf because his own warriors are unable to defend him. He's now been on the throne for 50 years. Grendel attacks, and no one in Hrothgar's army is able to stop him. At the end of the poem, when Beowulf is attacking the dragon, it is a discredit to Beowulf that his warriors run away and only Wiglaf stays to help him. And after the fight, Wiglaf condemns the men who have abandoned their lord in a time of need. Second, women play a subsidiary role in this culture. They are used as peace weavers. They are married off between warring tribes to end feuds. This is how we hear Freewaru in the poem that the poet gives at the Grendel celebration party. This is how we hear Freewaru, the daughter of Hrothgar, talked about. Women in this culture only matter if they're aristocratic, and then they only matter if they're married off between two warring tribes. And even then, in the case of Freewaru, in the case of Hildebert, we're given the sense that those marriages are not going to cure the tribe's conflict. And finally, justice. In this culture, there are two ways of avenging a murder. One is to pay the money that the person was worth, and this, of course, is based on social class. Or you have the option of avenging the death with a life. And so this justice system is diametrically opposed to the Christian justice system of love, And what we have Beowulf articulate in the aftermath of Grendel's mother's attack and Ashira's death, Ashira is this close friend of Hrothgar, we hear Beowulf say, "Do not grieve. It is best to avenge the loss of a loved one." Far better than crying. And so what we have articulated there is a justice system built on revenge. Now, this is dangerous because Grendel's mother is able to invoke that same revenge ethic when she attacks Hrothgar's kingdom after her son is killed. And one of the things I think the poet wants us to realize is that a system of revenge, apart from a belief in the Christian God and love and forgiveness, is that the culture of revenge ultimately ends up consuming itself because there's no suitable place to stop until everyone is dead. So those contexts should give you a good way of starting to approach the poem.